Alright, so last night the first fire up on the H23vtec was a epic fail, and that's because right out the gate, before the motor was even running, I was pulling 4 different codes out of my computer from the engine light. 2 of them were distributor codes, another one was an engine coolant temperature sensor code, and the other one was for my VTEC pressure switch code. Everything kind of had me thrown for a loop. So I started just kind of swapping parts around, and it continued to still have the problem. And only thing I could come up to was that something was wrong with my harness. So I went through the pain and headache of pulling the intake off. And you guys seen where I left off that I pulled the harness out of the car last night, and that was it. Last night I stayed up till about 4 in the morning going through the harness. Piece by piece, I pulled every last piece of tape and every loom and checked every connector, every splice that I had done in that harness. I found absolutely nothing wrong with it at all, so kind of just mind boggled at what's really going on with the car. Today I've spent better half of the morning getting the harness and the engine and everything all back together, and we're about to sit down in the driver's seat again and attempt, I guess we're going to say, a second round first fire up on this H23vtec. Here we go. My check engine light is gone. That is a mystery, but that is a good sign. Here we go. Holy Jesus. She is alive. I have no idea what was up with it. Maybe, I don't know. The harness is all cleaned up, and here she is. She's running again. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. Hell yeah, guys. Oh, what a relief. Sounds really good. Make sure she's not smoking or anything. Hell yeah, guys. Day number 2, round number 2. I don't know what the problem was. I guess something was up with the harness. Maybe it just really wanted to be cleaned up or something. The motor's running, car's running. I got no check engine lights, no smoke, no noises coming from the motor. Let's see what my oil pressure is at right here. Maybe my sensor is faulty, but my gauge is showing no oil pressure. So I'm going to have to check the sensor on my oil pressure gauge, make sure that the oil pressure gauge is actually working before assuming that I don't have any oil pressure. Everything sounds pretty good, and I'm just going to get this all buttoned up and we'll go for a drive. Well, I've got some bad news and quite a bit of work ahead of me. I was really hoping that the sensor had gone faulty on my aftermarket oil pressure gauge, but once the car warms up, the factory sensor is also alerting me to no oil pressure. So I shut the car off, I pulled the sensor, I fired the car up, and oil shot out. So I assumed my pump was okay and that I had a faulty sensor. So I swapped that sensor, fired the car up. I had no oil light, but then once the car warmed up, the oil light came back on, and still my aftermarket gauge is reading 0. which leads me to believe that either A, my pump really is just not putting out any pressure, or that I may possibly have forgotten to plug up one of my ports or something down in the girdle when I did the balance shaft delete. So I'm going to have to rip the oil pan and the timing all apart on this engine to dig deep in and replace the oil pump. Over here I've got a known good pump off of one of my other old motors that I tore apart, so I'm going to have to plug this one up. I'm going to plug this hole, and this hole. Then I'm going to need to pull out the press and get some plugs to plug up where the balance shafts went. And then on this girdle here, I need to plug up 5 ports for the ports that send oil to the balance shafts, which is this one here, this one here, this one here, this one, and this one. There is a spot inside the block that you need to block off inside the block on this port. That I know for a fact that I did on the block, so I'm just going to get a whole nother cradle ready to go and a whole nother pump ready to go. I'll get those cleaned up, plugged up, and then in the next video I'll show you guys ripping into the motor, and we're going to be replacing the oil pump and the girdle here on the crankshaft. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, peace out.